fact, there was a hearing in court today in which the Supreme Court has asked the centre whether it can keep the three contentious laws in abeyance for the time being. Why has the court said this? What did the centre say in response? Bhadra Sena, who tracks the courts as well as other legal issues for us, is with me. Do start sending in your questions for Government Matters. Bhadra, so, we know that yesterday the court talked about forming a panel.
Yes.
But we'll go back to that later. First, let's just talk about what happened today and what has the court proposed.
So, Ruhi, today was actually the second court hearing in connection with the petitions that have been filed before the Supreme Court, basically seeking to evict the protesting farmers at border areas. So yesterday, as you said, the court had suggested or indicated constitution of a committee to sort out or resolve the dispute between the farmers and the centre. So today, actually, the court wanted to go ahead with the formation of this committee. But before that, it was very keen to hear the farmers' union. Accordingly, it had issued notices to the farmers' union yesterday also. But it seems that the notices could not be served to the farmers' union. So there was nobody to represent them in the court except for one union was there. Lawyer for one union had appeared in the court. But during the hearing, which went on for almost 40 minutes, a lot of deliberations took place during the hearing, and both the Solicitor General and the Attorney General of India were present on behalf of the centre. And while the matter and the issue was being discussed, the Chief Justice of India led bench came out with a suggestion for the government, asking it to actually keep the law in abeyance, putting it on hold. The court very specifically said that it does not want to stay the implementation of the law, but it wanted a statement from the centre saying that we will keep it on hold until the negotiations are on, until the court is hearing the matter.
Okay.
So, and in the meanwhile, the court said that let the farmers continue with the protest, but, let us just try to find out via media. And for that, the court suggested, please keep the law in abeyance for some time.
But there was no talk of forming a panel or committee today.
So there was a talk of forming a panel or the committee today, but as I said, since there was nobody representing the farmers today, the court did not want to issue any orders on it right now. The bench has made it very clear that it wants to first hear the farmers' side and probably seek some names who could be members of the committee, and then only it will go ahead and constitute it.
So now how much time has the centre been given? When is the next hearing?
So Ruhi, no specific date has been given because tomorrow is the last day before the court actually breaks into a winter recess. But the court has given liberty to both the sides, to the government as well as to the petitioners and even the farmers, to approach the court even during the vacation. So the vacation actually ends on January 3rd and the court resumes its functioning on January 4th. But if anybody wants to approach the court in between, or even if the government wants to approach the court in between, they are welcome to do that.
So Bhadra, just to understand, just to put in context, what does keeping the law in abeyance mean? How is it different from the court staying the implementation of a law? And of course, this is different from a law being repealed.
Yeah. So see, the thing is, a stay would mean that the law will not be given any effect to until the court permits the government to do so. But in this case, the court wants the government to give a statement saying that we will not implement the law, in the sense, once the law is framed, then a lot of other formalities need to be completed, like guidelines have to be laid down, rules have to be framed. So right now, all those things have not happened. So probably what the court wanted to tell the government or give a message to the government was that don't go ahead with that process as of now. So it's like, not taking any action under the law. That is what the court wanted to tell them, and that's exactly what putting it in abeyance means. That's even if the law is there, even if it's operational, no action would be taken under the law.
So it won't be used, essentially.
That's right, it won't be used. Okay. Yeah.
So Hitesh R. Nautiyal has the first question. Do you think these three bills intervene in matters related to the state list, which is agriculture?
Okay, so yes, this is a dispute which is also pending before the Supreme Court. Some petitions have been filed. They were listed today, but the court did not go into the merits of those petitions. So the petitions have been filed challenging the validity of these three laws, particularly on this ground that the centre cannot frame laws pertaining to agriculture, and only the state can do that. It's a dispute which is pending before the Supreme Court, and I think the court would like to give a judgment on it. Of course, if you actually ask for a legal view, then yes, it is a state subject, and the state can only frame law, but I think it's a central law. Central law would mean that it would be applicable to the entire country. It would be a uniform law that will be applicable to the agricultural sector.
Okay. Dheeraj Jirati, do you think Supreme Court will play an important role in resolving the issue? So is it a bit out of the ordinary? It is. It sounds out of the ordinary, but from my experience, I have actually seen that the court has actually intervened in the past to resolve such disputes. From after attending yesterday and today's hearing, what I could gather is that the court is keen that the dispute ends, that the stalemate ends. And I think for various reasons. Of course, the main issue which the court is really looking into is with regard to the fundamental rights of the farmers who are protesting over there, as well as the other citizens who are probably getting affected. And I think that is actually what has compelled the court to intervene. Right.
And probably, act as a facilitator or a mediator, because they have realized that, in fact, they said it openly, that the negotiations are not moving ahead. It seems that the government has failed on that account. And because of the failure, the court said, let us just try to step in and see if we can resolve the dispute. So, yes, it is out of the ordinary, but I see that probably that is the only way ahead.
Okay. Prashant Vijapure, what happens if the centre rejects the court's proposal to sort of withhold the laws?
So today there was reluctance on the part of the government, because as I told you, 2 law officers had appeared. Solicitor General Tushar Mehta was very categorical that it cannot be done. Attorney General has taken some time to come back in response. If the centre refuses to, there can be 2 options. If the centre refuses to put it in abeyance, then the court can give a direction to them. Or the court can just probably constitute the committee and keep the matter pending with it.
All right. Okay. This question is by Tanveer Panjwani. Why is the Supreme Court not taking up the case of the constitutional legality of these 3 farmer bills?
I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry about it.
No problem.
So as I told you, the validity of these 3 laws have been challenged before the Supreme Court. But I think for today, for now, the main concern expressed by the court was related to the protests. They feel that because this was agitated before the court, the petitioners who have sought eviction of the farmers from the protesting sites have actually said, the protests are curtailing their right to move freely. And there was another petitioner who said the protests have led to a hike in prices of essential commodities in Delhi. So I think as of now, the main concern is to kind of end the protests, so that the inconvenience that is being caused to the residents of Delhi, to the citizens of Delhi, is brought to an end. As far as the validity of the farm laws is concerned, the court has not shut its doors on it, and the Chief Justice of India today very categorically said that we will look into the issue, but right now this is our priority.
Okay. Akshay Kamath, can the passing of bills in Parliament be held hostage by protest? What will its effect on reforms to come in future be? Well, this is an altogether different debate, which I think at this point we won't quite touch. But yeah, the point that the viewer is making is valid. But
I think that is, Ruhi, that's what my opinion is. That could be one of the reasons why court has decided to intervene. Because although they have time and again said and maintained the stand that the right of protest of farmers cannot be taken away because it is their fundamental right, but at the same time they say that it is very important to strike a balance. So the fundamental right to protest should not affect or curtail the fundamental right of another citizen. And I think that is the reason why
the court has intervened.
They have taken up the issue.
Okay. Tanveer Panjwani, is the matter that has been taken up by the Supreme Court fall under the purview of its jurisdiction? Earlier in 2 cases, the Supreme Court had decided to stay away from policy matters, stating it is the matter of the executive and not the legislature. So somewhere our lines between the executive executive and legislature getting increasingly blurred now?
It is getting increasingly blurred, you know. I just want to tell our viewers, we should not confuse. See, there are two sets of petitions that are pending in the Supreme Court. One is with regard to the validity of the law that can always be challenged. Now, the second is with regard to protests. Now, this is not the first time that this issue has come before the court. If you remember, there was a petition that was pending in connection with the Shaheen Bagh protest as well, and when on which the Supreme Court has already delivered its judgment. So, in that also, they have held, the principle that has been laid down is that the right to protest is a fundamental right, but yes, it cannot be, you cannot avail of this right at the cost of somebody else. So the same issue has been raised in these petitions, in these batch of petitions filed in connection with the farmers' protest right now. So I think, you know, as far as the jurisdiction is concerned, when somebody goes to the court and raises the issue of a fundamental right, so after all, our court is a constitutional authority, and under that authority, it is supposed to protect our fundamental rights. So if somebody agitates this issue before the court, so the court is kind of bound to at least look into it. Now, what is the outcome of it? We can't say, but yes, the court is bound to look into it. And interestingly, in the farmers' protest, the center has also in a way given into the court's jurisdiction because they are arguing. Yesterday also they argued, today also they argued. In fact, they have welcomed the court's proposal to set up the committee because they have realized that they need a mediator. They need somebody to facilitate the talks because it seems that the talks that have happened between the farmers and the ministers have failed. As according to the government, they say the farmers are being too adamant. But besides that, the government has actually complained about the behavior of the farmers towards the ministers. They say that when ministers are talking to them, the farmers simply turn their back and they come with just two placards, yes and no. So they are not willing to have a discussion or deliberation clause by clause. They have only one demand, either you repeal the law or you keep it. So when you talk about jurisdiction, if all the parties are submitting themselves to the jurisdiction of the court, then I don't think we should really make an issue out of it or question the court's authority.
In fact, Pratyush Sinha has a related question about the article or which article or its subsequent interpretation gives the Supreme Court the mandate to take up responsibilities of the executive. It's not really taking up the responsibilities of the executive.
It is not. See, because the Supreme Court is not trying to regulate the protest over here. When all the petitions that have come to the Supreme Court related to the protest talk about Article 21, which is about liberty, life, then, you know, about moving freely, and of course about right to protest, about right to free speech. So, you know, I mean, the provisions are there. So I really don't think that, you know, jurisdiction should be really questioned.
Okay. Anurag Iyengar, how long will it take for the court to come up with a complete solution for this issue?
So, you know, the court is very keen. In fact, today also when the matter was taken up, they were expecting the farmers' unions to be there. And I think the court had actually come, you know, with the mind to order the constitution of the committee, but since nobody was present on behalf of the farmers, it could not go ahead. It was very keen to hold a hearing tomorrow as well, but then they realized that tomorrow if somebody appears, it might just, you know, they might just end up adjourning the matter. But I think the court is keen to resolve it as soon as possible, and that is one of the reasons why they have actually given liberty to all the parties to approach it during the vacations also. So which means they're taking it as an urgent matter.
Right. Okay. Vaibhav Bansal, will the SC recommend to the government to include the civil court option mandatory for the grievance redressal, since it can be one of the major amendments that can be done to the laws? So
now that issue, as I told you, is the subject matter of another batch of petitions that have challenged the validity of the laws. That only time will tell once the court actually starts hearing these issues. So we can't say anything on that right now.
So have the farmer groups been directed to appear before the court?
So, you know, yesterday also when the notice was issued to them, the court had specifically directed the petitioners to serve the parties, the farmers' union. And it so happened that the numbers that were provided by the government only provided a list of the farmers' union to the court. And accordingly, the petitioners were asked to get in touch with all of them. But according to the petitioners, you know, when they told that's what they told the court today, they called upon all the numbers that were provided to them, but there was no response. So, and whoever picked up also did not give a very positive feedback. So there is no direction as such to appear, because they were never parties in the petition.
Right.
But
it would be desirable if they...
That's right. But the CJI, the Chief Justice of India, is very clear that he will not issue any orders without hearing the farmers. So it will be good for them if they appear, because I think they have got a forum where they can actually express their grievances. So I think they should appear.
All right, now with the Supreme Court seized of the matter, will it find a resolution soon? Only time will tell. As Bhadra said, the court is keen, but it's really difficult to figure out what direction this is going to take. Thank you for watching Government Matters, for sending in your questions. At 6 p.m. today, our Editor-in-Chief Shekhar Gupta will be live to take your questions. This will be a Hindi live. He's promised to do this once a week, so do start sending in questions on any issues, any burning issue from today, any political issue that might interest you.